Hidden treasure. Once upon a time, in a small village, near the coast of a faraway land, there was a legend of a hidden treasure that had been lost for centuries. The legend told of a great pirate who had hidden his treasure in the village before being captured and executed by the king's men. Many people had searched for the treasure over the years, but nobody had ever found it. The villagers had given up hope of ever finding the treasure. But one day, a young man named Jack arrived in the village. Jack was an adventurer, and he had heard of the legend of the hidden treasure. He was determined to find it. Jack spent several days talking to the villagers, trying to learn as much as he could about the legend. He discovered that the treasure was said to be hidden in a cave near the beach, but nobody had ever been able to find the entrance to the cave. Undeterred, Jack set out to explore the area around the beach. He walked up and down the shore, searching for any clues that might lead him to the cave. He examined every rock and every tree, but he couldn't find anything that looked like an entrance to a cave. One day, Jack was sitting on the beach, staring out at the sea, when he noticed something unusual. There was a small, rocky island just off the coast, and he could see what looked like a small opening in the rocks. Jack felt a thrill of excitement run through him. Could this be the entrance to the cave he had been looking for? Without hesitation, Jack swam out to the island. As he approached the rocks, he could see that there was indeed a small opening in the rocks, just as he had seen from the shore. Jack squeezed through the opening and found himself in a dark, damp cave. The cave was full of twists and turns, and Jack had to crawl through narrow passages and climb over rocks to make his way deeper into the cave. It was a treacherous journey, and Jack had to be careful not to slip or fall. But he was determined to find the treasure, and he pressed on. Finally, after what seemed like hours of crawling and climbing, Jack found himself in a large chamber. In the center of the chamber, there was a small pile of treasure. It wasn't the biggest treasure he had ever seen, but it was enough to make him wealthy beyond his wildest dreams. Jack was overjoyed. He had done what nobody else had been able to do. He had found the hidden treasure. He stuffed as much treasure as he could into his backpack and began the journey back through the cave. But as he was crawling through one of the narrow passages, Jack heard a sound that made his heart race. It was the sound of footsteps. Somebody was coming. Jack froze, unsure of what to do. He couldn't go forward or backward, and there was nowhere to hide. He could hear the footsteps getting closer and closer, and he knew that whoever was coming would soon find him. Suddenly, Jack had an idea. He quickly took off his backpack and hid it behind a nearby rock. Then he crawled forward, deeper into the cave, hoping to find a way out. As he crawled through the darkness, Jack could hear the footsteps getting closer and closer. He was starting to panic, but he kept crawling, hoping that he would find a way out before whoever was coming found him. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Jack saw a glimmer of light up ahead. He crawled toward the light and emerged from the cave, gasping for breath. Jack looked around, but he couldn't see anybody. He quickly grabbed his backpack and ran back to the village, eager to share his discovery. When he arrived in the village, Jack was greeted with cheers and applause. The villagers were amazed that he had actually found the hidden treasure. Jack was hailed as a hero, and he spent the next few days celebrating with the villagers. But as the celebrations died down, Jack began to think about what had happened in the cave, who had been coming toward him, and why. Jack knew that he couldn't rest until he had found out the answers to these questions. He decided to go back to the cave and investigate. This time, Jack was prepared. He brought a flashlight and a weapon, just in case he ran into trouble. He crawled through the narrow passages and climbed over the rocks, just as he had before. But this time, he was more cautious. As he approached the chamber where he had found the treasure, Jack heard a sound. It was the sound of someone digging. He quickly turned off his flashlight and crept closer to the chamber. Peeking around the corner, Jack saw a man with a shovel digging in the pile of treasure. The man looked up and saw Jack, and he quickly drew his sword. Jack was ready. He pulled out his own weapon, and the two men began to fight. It was a fierce battle, with swords clashing and sparks flying. But Jack was a skilled fighter, and he soon gained the upper hand. The man with the shovel fell to the ground defeated. Jack looked at him, surprised. It was one of the villagers. "What are you doing here?" Jack demanded. I was trying to take some of the treasure," the villagers said sheepishly. "I thought nobody would notice." Jack shook his head. "This treasure doesn't belong to any one person," he said. "It belongs to the village, and we should share it equally." The villager nodded, ashamed. Jack helped him up, and they both carried the treasure back to the village. When they arrived, Jack announced that he had found the treasure, but that it belonged to the entire village. He suggested that they use it to build a school or a hospital, something that would benefit everyone. The villagers agreed, and they used the treasure to build a school. It was a beautiful building with large windows and a bright, airy classroom. The villagers were proud of what they had accomplished, and they knew that they had Jack to thank for it. From that day forward, Jack was regarded as a hero in the village. He had not only found the hidden treasure, but he had also brought the community together and helped them to build something that would benefit everyone. And although he never forgot his adventure in the cave, he knew that the real treasure was the friendships he had made and the sense of community he had helped to create. The end. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends and family. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. We'll see you in the next one.